Captain Jake Morrison felt his hands shake as he stared at the view screen. Thousands of alien ships filled the space around Earth. Each one was bigger than any human ship ever built. The largest ones looked like floating cities made of metal. And Light Dot Jake had been in space for 15 years. He had seen pirates, asteroids, and even a few solar storms. But nothing had prepared him for this. His ship, the Liberty, was one of Earth's best warships. Now it looked like a toy next to the alien fleet. "Captain, we're getting a message," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The alien that appeared was tall and thin with blue-gray skin. Its eyes were large and black. When it spoke, the words came through a translator that made its voice sound cold and mechanical. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Zentari Empire. I speak for the Galactic Council. You will listen." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. What do you want?" "Want?" The alien tilted its head. "We want nothing from you. We are here to solve a problem. Humans are that problem." At Earth's military headquarters, Admiral Lisa Kane watched the same message. She was Earth's top military commander. She had fought in 3 wars and won them all. But she had never faced anything like this. The alien continued speaking. "The Galactic Council has watched your species for 50 Earth years. We have seen your wars. We have seen your violence. We have seen how quickly you build weapons. You are dangerous." Dr. Nathan Cross burst into the Admiral's office. He was Earth's best expert on alien life. For years, he had dreamed of meeting other intelligent species. Now his dream was becoming a nightmare. "Admiral, you have to let me talk to them," he said. "I can make them understand. Humans aren't just violent. We can be peaceful, too." "Admiral." Kane shook her head. "They've already made up their minds, Nathan." On the view screen, Ambassador Krell was still talking. "Your species spreads like a disease. In 100 of your years, you went from simple flying machines to faster than light. Travel. You fight each other constantly. If we let you into the galaxy, you will bring nothing but war." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "We've had peace on Earth for 30 years. We're not the same species we were before." "Peace?" The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "You have peace because you ran out of enemies to fight. Now you build weapons and ships. You prepare for wars that have not come yet. This is your nature." In his laboratory, Dr. Cross was pulling up files on his computer. He had spent his whole life studying human history and culture. He knew humans could be violent, but they could also be kind, creative, and brave. "Look at our art," he whispered. To himself, "Look at our music, our literature. We're more than just warriors." But the aliens weren't interested in human art. They had studied human military history. They knew about World War I and World War II. They knew about nuclear weapons and biological warfare. To them, humans were a threat that had to be stopped. Ambassador Krell's message continued. "The Galactic Council has made a decision. Your species has 2 choices. You can leave this galaxy forever, or you can be destroyed." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. "You're talking about 12 billion people. This is our home." "Your home is wherever we allow you to live," the alien replied. "You have 1 Earth month to gather your people and leave. Any human ship found in this galaxy after that time will be destroyed." Admiral Kane closed her eyes. She had always known. This day might come. Humans had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. They also knew they weren't welcome. "How many ships do we have?" She asked her aide. "About 2,000 that can carry people, Admiral. Most are cargo ships or small colony vessels. That's not enough for 12 billion people," No, ma'am. Not even close. Dr. Cross was still trying to find a way to change the aliens' minds. He recorded message after message, explaining human culture and potential. He sent data about human achievements in science and medicine. The aliens never responded. Young engineer Ryan Blake was working on one of the cargo ships when he heard the news. He was only 25 years old. He had grown up dreaming of exploring the stars. Now he was helping to pack everything humanity could carry into space. "It's not fair," he told his friend as they loaded supplies. "They don't even know us. They're judging us based on old history." "Maybe that's all they need to know," his friend replied sadly. Commander Amy Foster was put in charge of organizing the evacuation. It was the biggest logistical challenge in human history. 12 billion people had to be moved off Earth in 30 days. Most would have to leave everything behind. The cargo ships were converted to carry people instead of goods. Families were split up because there wasn't enough room. People could only bring what they could carry. Children cried as they left their toys behind. Adults wept as they abandoned their homes. The aliens watched everything. Their ships stayed in orbit, silent and threatening. They didn't help with the evacuation. They didn't offer advice or supplies. They just waited. As the deadline approached, the last ships prepared to leave. Earth looked different now. Its cities were empty. Its skies were quiet. Only a few hundred people remained to shut down the power plants and secure dangerous materials. Ryan Blake was on the last ship, a colony vessel called New Horizon. As it pulled away from Earth, he pressed his face against a window. The planet where humanity had been born was getting smaller and smaller. "We'll be back," he whispered. "Somehow, some way, we'll be back." The ship jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, automated alien machines began tearing apart Earth's space stations and moon bases. The Galactic Council wanted to make sure humans could never return. The great human fleet moved slowly toward the edge of the galaxy. 12 billion people heading into the dark unknown. They had been exiled not for what they had done, but for what the aliens thought they might do. But the aliens had made one mistake. They thought exile would destroy humanity. They didn't understand that hardship only made humans stronger. In the cold emptiness of space, humanity would learn to survive. And one day, they would return to claim their place among the stars. 57 years had passed since the Great Exile. Admiral Connor Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at something the aliens never expected to see. A massive human fleet floated in the darkness between galaxies. Hundreds of ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything Earth had ever built. The early years had been terrible. Half the exile fleet had been lost in the first decade. Ships broke down in the cold emptiness of space. People died from diseases that couldn't be treated without proper medical facilities. Children were born and grew up never seeing a real planet or breathing natural air. But humans did what they always did. They adapted. Captain Sarah Johnson had been one of the first to discover the strange rocks floating in the dark space. They looked like asteroids, but they glowed with a faint purple light. When her mining team cut into one, they found something incredible. The rocks contained a type of energy that was completely unknown to human science. "It's like they're made of compressed starlight," she told Dr. Peter Walsh, the fleet's chief scientist. "A piece the size of my fist could power a ship for a year." Dr. Walsh studied the energy rocks for months. He discovered they weren't normal matter at all. They were made of something called dark matter, which existed in the empty spaces between galaxies. The aliens had never found them because they had never been exiled to the void. Humans had. The discovery changed everything. Ships that had been limping along on failing power systems suddenly had more energy than they knew what to do with. But Dr. Walsh found something even more amazing. The dark matter could be used to enhance human biology. It's incredible, he told Admiral Hayes. Exposure to processed dark matter makes humans stronger, faster, and more resistant to radiation. We can survive in environments that would kill any other species. Lieutenant Kevin Stone was one of the first volunteers for the enhancement process. He had been born during the exile. He had never seen Earth or breathed real air. To him, the cold darkness of space was home. The process was painful, but worth it. Kevin emerged from the treatment chamber feeling like a new person. His reflexes were lightning fast. His strength had doubled. Most importantly, he could survive in the vacuum of space for hours without a suit. "We're not the same humans who left the galaxy," he told his squad. "We're something new, something better." General Marcus Bell saw the military potential immediately. He started training programs for the enhanced humans. They learned to fight in zero gravity, to use weapons that worked with dark matter energy, and to pilot ships that could phase in and out of normal space. But the real breakthrough came from Dr. Helen Gray. She had been working on weapons technology since the early days of exile. She understood that if humans ever returned to the galaxy, they would need something that could defeat alien technology. Her laboratory was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid. She worked with a team of 20 scientists, all of them enhanced with dark matter. They had been trying for years to turn this strange energy into a weapon. "The problem is that dark matter exists in a different phase of reality," she explained to General Bell. "Normal weapons can't touch it, and it can't touch normal matter. But what if we could make it phase back and forth?" The answer came from studying the way their ships moved through dark space. They had learned to slip between dimensions, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Dr. Gray realized they could do the same thing with weapons. The first dark matter rifle was tested on an old cargo ship. When the weapon fired, the beam passed right through the ship's shields and armor like they weren't there. Then it phased back into normal space inside the ship, tearing it apart from within. "The aliens' shields won't stop this," Dr. Gray said. "With satisfaction, their armor is useless. We can hit them without them being able to hit us back." By this time, the human fleet had grown enormous. The exile ships had become mobile cities. Factories built inside asteroid bases produced new ships every month. Children who had grown up in space became pilots and engineers. The fleet that had limped into the void as refugees was now a military force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Tony Mitchell commanded the newest and largest ship, a massive dreadnought called Sovereign. It was 3 times the size of the biggest alien battleship, and it was just one of 50 similar vessels. "The Council thinks we're dead," he told Admiral Hayes during a strategy meeting. "They stopped watching the Rim decades ago. They have no idea what we've become." Intelligence reports filtered back from the galaxy through hidden observation posts. The news was encouraging. The Galactic Council had grown lazy and corrupt in humanity's absence. The alien species spent more time fighting each other than maintaining their fleets. Their technology had barely advanced in 50 years. "They're weak," reported Spy Master Julie Parker. "Their ships are old. Their weapons are outdated. Most importantly, they've forgotten how to fight a real war." Young Ryan Blake, now middle-aged and serving as chief engineer of the fleet, had never forgotten his promise. He had spent decades designing new ships and weapons. Every innovation was aimed at one goal: returning to the galaxy stronger than before. "My children ask me about Earth," he told Admiral Hayes. "They want to know what it was like to live on a real planet. I tell them they'll see it for themselves someday." The second generation of exiled humans was different from their parents. They had grown up in the darkness between galaxies. They had been enhanced with dark matter from birth. They thought of space as home and planets as strange, exotic places. Commander. Lisa Brooks was typical of this new generation. She could survive in vacuum, see in total darkness, and pilot ships through dimensions that normal humans couldn't even perceive. To her, the aliens who had exiled humanity were not terrifying monsters. They were just another obstacle to overcome. My parents' generation was afraid of the aliens, she said. We're not. We know we're stronger than they are. We know we're smarter than they are. Most importantly, we know we're coming home. The preparations took years. Every ship was upgraded with dark matter weapons. Every soldier was enhanced and trained. Supply lines were established. Battle plans were drawn. Up and redrawn dozens of times. Finally, Admiral Hayes made the decision. It's time, he announced to the fleet commanders. 57 years ago, they threw us out because they thought we were dangerous. Let's show them they were right. The great fleet began moving toward the galaxy. Thousands of ships carrying millions of enhanced humans, heading home to reclaim what was theirs. The exile was about to end. The return of humanity was about to begin. Communications Officer Emma Rodriguez was having a normal day at the Arcturus Prime monitoring station. She had been working the night shift for 3 years. Nothing interesting ever happened at the edge of the galaxy. The aliens who ran the station mostly ignored her, and she liked it that way. Then her sensors started screaming. What the hell? Emma muttered, staring at her screens. 3 massive energy signatures had just appeared out of nowhere. They were bigger than anything in the Galactic Council's fleet database. Station Commander Vextar rushed to her console. He was a tall, gray-skinned Zentari with the typical arrogant attitude of his species. Explain this malfunction, human, he demanded. It's not a malfunction, sir, Emma said carefully. There are 3 large ships approaching our position. They're not responding to our identification requests. The Zentari officer laughed. Impossible. Nothing that large could approach without our long-range sensors detecting it days ago. Emma pointed at her screen. See for yourself, sir. The Zentari's laugh died as he saw the readings. 3 ships, each one the size of a Council battlecruiser, were moving toward them at impossible speed. They were black as space itself and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Send a warning message, Vextar ordered. Tell them they are entering restricted Council space. Emma sent the message. The response came back immediately, but not in words. Instead, the 3 black ships simply accelerated. They were moving faster than anything Emma had ever seen. On the lead ship, Captain Alex Turner smiled as he watched the alien station grow larger on his view screen. His ship was called Retribution, and it had been built specifically for this moment. After 57 years in exile, humanity was announcing its return. All teams, prepare for boarding, Alex said into his communicator. Remember, we want prisoners, not casualties. We need them alive to deliver our message. The Retribution's crew was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They had been enhanced with dark matter since childhood. They could see in total darkness, survive in vacuum, and move with speed that seemed supernatural to normal beings. Lieutenant Tom Bradley led the first boarding team. They used a new type of transport technology that let them phase directly through the station's shields and hull. One moment they were on their ship. The next moment they were standing in the station's corridors. The alien security forces never had a chance. Their weapons passed right through the human soldiers, who seemed to exist in a different dimension. Meanwhile, the humans' dark matter weapons cut through alien armor like it was made of paper dot in 15 minutes. The entire station was under human control. Not a single alien had been killed, but they were all unconscious, stunned by weapons. That bypassed their personal shields completely. Emma Rodriguez found herself face to face with Captain Turner. She had expected to be treated as a prisoner, but the captain simply nodded to her respectfully. "You're human," he said. "What's your name?" "Communications Officer Emma Rodriguez, sir," she replied, confused. "Good. I need you to send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them that humanity has returned. Tell them the exile is over." Emma stared at him. "Humanity? But you were all exiled decades ago. Everyone knows you died in the void." Captain Turner smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Do we look dead to you, Officer Rodriguez?" The message reached the Council homeworlds within hours. High Counselor Zextai of the Zentari Empire received it during an important trade negotiation. He had been one of the younger officials who voted for humanity's exile 57 years ago. "This is impossible," he told his aide. "Humans cannot survive in the void between galaxies. Our scientists proved this. Perhaps they found a way." "High Counselor," his aide suggested carefully. "Or perhaps this is some kind of trick. Pirates using human names to frighten us." But Zextai's confidence was shaken. He called an emergency meeting of the full council. Representatives from all 12 species gathered in the Great Chamber on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. The debate was chaos. Some council members wanted to send the full fleet to investigate. Others insisted it was impossible for humans to have survived. A few suggested that maybe they should have tried to negotiate with humanity instead of exiling them. The human problem was solved 57 years ago, declared Admiral Carthex of the Altarian Navy. "Whatever these pirates are, they are not the humans we exiled." That confidence lasted exactly 6 days. Admiral Rachel Green commanded the second wave of human attacks. Her task force of 30 ships hit 5 different council outposts simultaneously. Each attack followed the same pattern. The human ships appeared out of nowhere, disabled the alien vessels without destroying them, and left the same message. "Humanity has returned. The exile is over. Prepare for negotiations." Dr. Chris Morgan had spent decades studying every piece of intelligence the humans could gather about Council military tactics. He knew their weaknesses better than they knew them themselves. The aliens had grown lazy during the long peace. Their ships moved in predictable patterns. Their commanders followed outdated strategies. "They fight like they're still living 50 years ago," he told Admiral Green. "They have no idea how warfare has evolved." The human attacks were surgical and precise. They captured weapons, ships, and intelligence data. But most importantly, they captured alien personnel who could spread word of what they had seen. Captain Robert Lewis was interrogating a captured Zentari officer when he learned just how much the galaxy had changed during humanity's exile. "Don't understand," the alien said. "The Council is not what it once was. The member species barely cooperate anymore. The Altarians and Zentari spend more time plotting against each other than maintaining their fleets." "That's very interesting," Robert said. "Tell me more." The reports that reached the Council painted a terrifying picture. The humans had returned with technology that made Council weapons useless. They could appear and disappear at will. Soldiers seemed immune to conventional weapons. Worst of all, they showed no interest in negotiating. Commander Julia Parker led the attack that truly shook the galaxy. Her stealth squadron of 50 ships penetrated the heavily defended Rigel system, home to the Council's primary shipyards. Using dark matter charges that phased through normal shields, they crippled the facility's production capability in less than 2 hours. But they didn't just destroy the shipyards. They stole 12 prototype warships, complete with their technical specifications. Within days, human engineers were reverse engineering 50 years of alien technological advancement. "They're not just attacking us," High Counselor Zextai told the emergency session. "They're studying us, learning our weaknesses, preparing for something bigger." "What do you suggest we do?" asked Counselor Mexara of the Hegemony. "We need To evacuate the border systems, Zextai said. Pull our fleets back to the core worlds. Prepare for a real war. Against humans? Counselor Drixoft. They're primitives. Their homeworld didn't even have space travel when we exiled them. These are not the same humans we exiled, Zextai said grimly. Whatever they've become during their time in the void, they're more dangerous than we ever imagined. As if to prove his point, reports came in of more human attacks. 30 systems had been hit in the past week. Each attack was perfectly coordinated. Each one captured valuable intelligence or resources. The humans were systematically dismantling the Council's outer defenses. On his flagship, Admiral Connor Hayes reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. Phase 1 of the return was complete. The Council knew humanity was back. They were afraid, confused, and completely unprepared for what was coming next. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Bring the main fleet through. It's time to show them what? 57 years in the void has taught us about survival. Across the dark space between galaxies, thousands of human ships began moving toward the galactic rim. The exile was ending. The real war was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Danny Cooper stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as 3,000 human ships emerged from dark space at the edge of the galaxy. The sight was magnificent and terrifying. Each vessel was larger and more advanced than anything the Council had ever built. After 57 years in exile, humanity had returned as an empire. The Council's response was swift and desperate. Supreme Admiral Zarkith of the Altarian hegemony commanded the largest fleet in galactic history. Ships from all 12 member species had gathered at Proxima Gate, the main entry point to the galaxy's core systems. Over 5,000 vessels waited in formation, their weapons charged and ready. Look at them, Admiral Zarkith said to his officers. They think their numbers will save them. They have no idea what they're facing. Colonel Matt Davis was preparing his fighter squadron when the battle began. He had been born in exile, enhanced since childhood, and trained for this moment his entire life. To him, the alien ships weren't terrifying enemies. They were just targets. Remember what they did to our grandparents, he told his pilots over the radio. They threw us out because they were afraid of us. Today, we show them they were right to be afraid. The battle started when the Council fleet fired first. Thousands of energy beams and missiles shrieked across space toward the human ships. But something impossible happened. Most of the weapons passed right through the human vessels, like they weren't there. Phase shields, Admiral Cooper explained to his bridge crew. We exist in normal space and dark space at the same time. Their weapons can't touch us unless we let them. The human response was devastating. Dark matter weapons phased through Council shields and armor, striking the ships from inside. Within minutes, dozens of alien vessels were crippled or destroyed. The rest of the Council fleet tried to retreat, but they found their escape routes blocked by human ships that had appeared out of nowhere. Admiral Susan Wright commanded the human heavy battleships that anchored the main battle line. Her ships were massive, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But they didn't need to use all their weapons. The Council fleet was falling apart under the coordinated human assault. Target their command ships, she ordered. Cut off their communications. Make them fight as individuals instead of a unified fleet. The strategy worked perfectly. As Council command ships exploded or went silent, the alien fleet lost coordination. Ships from different species started getting in each other's way. Some tried to flee, while others continued fighting. The disciplined formation became a chaotic mob. On the Council flagship, Supreme Admiral Zarkith watched his fleet being destroyed and felt a fear he had never experienced before. These humans fought with a precision and intensity that seemed inhuman. They moved like a single organism, each ship perfectly coordinated with thousands of others. Sir, "We're receiving surrender signals from the Hegemony Second Fleet," his communications officer reported. "Ignore them," Zarkith ordered. "We cannot show weakness to these creatures." But it was too late. The battle was already over. In 6 hours, nearly 60% of the Council fleet had been destroyed or captured. The remaining ships fled toward the core worlds, carrying news of humanity's overwhelming victory. The political aftermath was immediate. 4 Council species opened secret diplomatic channels with the humans within days of the battle. The Rigelian Trade Union was the first to break ranks, offering to recognize human territorial claims in exchange for peace. President Victoria Hill received the alien ambassadors on her flagship, the Super Dreadnought Imperial. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes, but the aliens who met her could sense the power she represented. Behind her stood guards, who could kill with their bare hands and survive in the vacuum of space. "We want only what was always ours," she told the Rigelian ambassador. "Recognition, respect, and the right to exist in this galaxy. 57 years ago, you tried to exile us because you thought we were dangerous. You were right. We are dangerous, but only to those who threaten us." Secretary of Diplomatic Affairs Brandon Scott handled the formal negotiations. He had prepared for this moment his entire career. The human demands were simple but non-negotiable. Humanity would join the Galactic Council as its 13th member with full voting rights. The exile decree would be formally canceled. Reparations would be paid for the forced evacuation, and Earth would be returned to human control. "These terms are impossible," protested the Zentari representative. "The Council will never agree to give humans equal status." "Then the Council will continue to lose ships and colonies until it changes its mind," Brandon replied calmly. "We've waited 57 years. We can wait longer if necessary." The negotiations took place while human fleets continued their advance into Council space. Admiral Derek Hughes led the occupation of the Sol System, humanity's original home. When his ships entered Earth's orbit, millions of enhanced humans looked down at the blue planet their grandparents had been forced to abandon. "It's smaller than I imagined," one young soldier said. "But it's ours," Admiral Hughes replied. "And it always was." The signing ceremony was held on Luna, Earth's moon, in sight of the planet where humanity had been born. Representatives from all 12 Council species attended, though some came reluctantly. The treaty was simple but historic. Humanity was officially welcomed back into the galactic community as an equal member. High Counselor Zextai, one of the original architects of humanity's exile, signed the document with shaking hands. "I hope we have not made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. President Hill smiled. "The mistake was made 57 years ago when you tried to exile us. Today we're simply correcting it." Admiral Cooper watched the ceremony from the bridge of his ship. Around him, the human fleet maintained perfect formation. Thousands of vessels that represented the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They were no longer refugees or exiles. They were the guardians of humanity's new empire. "What are your orders, Admiral?" his aide asked. "Deploy the fleets to their assigned sectors," Cooper replied. "Establish patrol routes. Begin construction of permanent bases. We're not visitors here anymore. This is our galaxy too." As the human ships spread throughout their reclaimed territory, one truth became clear to every species in the galaxy. The creatures they had exiled for being too dangerous had returned as something far more powerful than anyone had imagined. The exile had not destroyed humanity. It had forged them into an empire that would shape the galaxy's future for thousands of years to come. Ryan Blake, now an old man, stood in the observation deck of a human colony ship as it approached Earth. He had kept his promise from 57 years ago. Humanity had returned. They were home. "They wanted us gone because they feared what we might become," he said to his granddaughter. Now they know they were right to be afraid. But it's far too late to change anything. We're here to stay. The girl pressed her face against the window, watching Earth grow larger. She had been born in space, enhanced with dark matter, and raised on stories of humanity's exile and return. To her, this wasn't the end of a journey. It was the beginning of an empire that would reach across the stars.